Hello, hello, welcome to episode 107 of the Lorethrough, and we're getting right to it. We're breaking out of Lanedell, and we're gonna see what's on the outside world. Going up this very fancy elevator, terribly ornate, full of, well, sword saints, but they're not all having swords. I think near the top we'll see some holding books. Maybe that's the other divine bridges. But here they are. Going up. Yeah, it's the ones over here by this kind of set of pillars and archway. So we had a big old grand seal in the way earlier that was interrupting our progress. Leather draped tabard. Just poke him repeatedly, it's fine. I did want to show off a silly thing that I can do now, since over-leveling, is I can cast Terra Magica, and then with my offhand I can do Smaragd's Glintstone Breath, which is a very expensive way to kill things, but it works. Oh, how it works. Bad at juggling spells, though. Kinda comical. Need to throw that in the bank. Actually, I forgot to equip spells since the last episode. We have another beetle. That we'll hastily take care of. And for some reason it transforms into a large beetle and has a lot more health. What a waste of mana. But hey, I showed it off. It is an incantation though, so a little bit cringe if you ask me. I'm only joking. Incantations are fine. Well, maybe Dragon Breath isn't fine. But come over here. We have this big old tower we've been approaching. I should have looked at it. Well, maybe it's more of a dome. It's a fairly tall building. Still, sword and tree era architecture. Likely to connect the Divine Towers and the ancient eternal city of Lanedell before it became the royal capital. There's another branching path over there that we will get to. I think if we look east-ish, I'm probably wrong. There's a little outcropping on one of these. There it is. Okay, it's west. Okay, we'll be back for that. So we come down here. Archways. Somebody keeps the candles lit. Don't know who. There's a handful of soldiers that were outside. And past Morgoth's barrier that is now down. And here we find ourselves in the Forbidden Lands. It's already snowy. Even though we technically descended. We didn't get higher. And there's grace, but it's red. So something is terribly wrong here. Why is the grace red? And I'm pretty certain... Yeah, this still has a... It's still pointing us in a direction. So. Let's memorize some spells, and then we'll go back up. So I'm trying to remember what all we had here that I enjoyed having. Oh, I don't quite recall. We definitely had... Oh, we definitely had Scholar's Armament. We could probably make room for Starlight. I shouldn't be doing this here, but I digress. We'll try out Crystal Burst and Crystal Barrage for giggles. Scholar's Armament, and then we'll bring, actually, War Crimes instead. There we go. That's a selection. We'll see how Crystal Burst has changed since we got some stats. And we need to head back up. Well, yeah, we do. But we need to be facing west this time. Because there... Oh, no. There it is. I don't know who stuck this here. I don't know who thought it was a good idea. I don't know if normally you're supposed to be able to control the rate at which the elevator ascends. But we find a body here. The official's attire. It kind of looks like the Mariah's robe minus the Mantle. Grubby blue robe worn by magisterial officials to carry out their grim tasks. Surveillance, executions, gruesome rituals, the darkest duties drive the wheels of mankind. You know who else was wearing that? I think Inquisitor Giza with the Giza wheel. And a blade of calling, which looks an awful lot like Melena's little dagger, right? And has a very similar attack to the Black Knife Assassins, but the holy version. It is a primarily a faith weapon, while I think the Black Knife is primarily a dex weapon. Both have a faith requirement, though. Dagger given to one who set out on a journey to fulfill her duty long ago. The power of its former owner, the Kindling Maiden, is still apparent. Well, we've seen Melina wield this. The one who walks alongside Flame shall one day meet the road of destined death. So, interesting. Is Melina our Kindling Maiden? Maybe. She is burned and bodiless. Her words, not mine. But I do need to... Alright, put the Sword Knight Flame. There we go. I want to show off its Ashes of War as well. I should have called that down. We will soon. I just remembered I need to throw items in the box and keep wasting time in this episode and not making any real progress. Okay, sword chest, items. Found an iron greatsword on the way, actually. Kind of a lucky find. Throw those great shields away. They're way too heavy. 29 for a shield. Whenever I see somebody with a build that has a fingerprint shield and, like, Guts' greatsword or something, the one that weighs 23, I just kind of, oh my gosh. And they're still wearing heavy armor. It's like, yes, that's me. I got 40 points of strength and the rest went in endurance. A lot of times I've seen those builds and they have suboptimal health if they're around metal level just because it's so darn heavy. Even with the Erdtree Favor Talisman, the good one, and Jar Arsenal Charm, it's so darn heavy. You don't need both of those simultaneously. At that point you might as well get enough endurance to wield the shield, and then swap to the sword as you need it. Okay, and we have a Divine Tower over here we can investigate, so let's do exactly that. And we have a soldier out here we need to deal with. Oh, I didn't change my crystal tier. Oop. And we find ourselves in a terrible black void. I think we walk a little bit more forward. What's going on here? There it is. Okay. So we have two. Omen coming our way. We'll give him a Regal Omen Baron. So I think they dodged the initial part, which is kind of silly. That looked silly above all else. Okay, where's the other one? I don't see him. I don't like that I can't see him. Very reminiscent of the Four Kings fight. Oh. And good old backstab. So these are fell twins, one covered in horns, the other not. And it kind of fair for how tough Omen are their boss fight, and we get Omen Killer Rolo as a consequence. finally, an item with some lore. I mean, I guess the Blade of Calling had a little lore to it. Let's take a look at that. Ash of War. Sorry, not Ash of War. Spirit Ash. Ashen, let's see. Used to summon the spirit of Omen Killer Rollo. Spirit of Rollo, known as the first Omen Killer. Once a famous perfumer, Rollo imbibed a physic to rid himself of emotion, thus enabling him to enact his nightmarish labor hunting the Omen. So kind of interesting. Perfumers, kind of seen as clergymen, priests of the Golden Order. They create perfumes to help and heal initially, and then eventually they are called upon to create perfumes that harm and maim. Poisons, spark, aromatics, bloodlust. And then some perfumers, like Rollo, go far enough that they give themselves a physic that makes it so they feel no more. No more empathy, no more pain, and it creates in them horribly efficient killers. It also explains why the Omen Killers also can fire flames from their mouth. It's a physic of some kind. So they are perfumer plus kind of entities. Perfumers, we know, harvest Miranda flowers, which are man-eating plants. Kind of a scarce resource that's taboo to facilitate, but I guess healing comes at a cost. And just like any sort of trade that has rare ingredients, there are those who are kind of seen as poachers in the lands between. So, you know what? We use jar shards to make aromatics, I believe, as well. And we know there's poachers that go after the poor jar people. So there's a trade for that as well. I'm trying to think what else about the perfumers can I think of offhand while we are ascending. Not a whole lot. Perfumers are interesting. They're fairly well fleshed out. A lot of them are dressed almost like Eastern Orthodox priests. Or the Eastern Orthodox clergy. I don't know if they actually call them priests. I'm not that well versed in that area. But here we are in another divine tower, East Altus, and there are 2 great runes and another set of dead fingers. Turned to wood. So let's touch these one at a time and see what's up. So we get Mohg's Great Rune. Take a look at that item. A great rune of the Shardbearer Mohg. Its blessing grants a blessing of blood to summon phantoms and imparts a phantom great rune upon successful invasion. Mohg and Morgott are twin brothers, and their great runes are naturally similar. So, Mohg and Morgott are twins. Good to know. But Mohg's rune is soaked in accursed blood from his devout love for the wretched mire that he was born into far below the earth. And eventually Mohg found his way into the thrall to make himself the thrall of the formless mother and outer god. So he really turned himself against the Erd Tree and all it stood for. And let's see what we learn from this great rune. It's Morgott's Great Rune. So let's take a look at that now. Great rune of the Shardbearer Morgott. Its blessing greatly raises max HP. This great rune is the anchor ring that houses the base and proves 2 things. That the Omen King was born of the golden lineage, and that he was indeed the Lord of Leyndell. Very well spoken. So that is very curious to know. So we knew that he was born of royalty, right? Royalty of gold specifically. But now we know without a shadow of a doubt that he was a son of the golden lineage. He was some relative of Godwyn and Godric and Godefroy. And of course, Lord Godfrey and Queen Marika. So perhaps, maybe, who knows how old they are. It seems they've been around a good while, and they seem quite mature and a lot more powerful than Godric was. Oh, what do we have here? We have vulgar militiamen somewhere. There we go. There we go. Take care of them. More pillars from the giants in the area. I think they're pillars made by the giants. You don't have to believe that if you don't want to. I got his hat. I just ripped it off his head while going by. My goodness. So yeah, Morgott. Who was Morgott? Where in the Golden Lineage is he? Technically not so confirmed. Not yet, anyways. But given how powerful he was and how close he was to Leyndell proper, it makes me wonder if he was one of the firsts. Morgott and Mohg, I mean. Maybe they were younger brothers to Godwyn, even. Maybe they were that close to the Golden Lineage and they were cursed. Heck, maybe Marika having cursed children is what caused her to hound Godfrey from the lands between, seeing as she needed good and righteous heirs to the kingdom. Oh, nighttime boss fight. I was not prepared. Oh, God. That does so little. I'm hoping he'll get a little closer so I can show off how good it can be, but it's just not happening. Yeah, it's just not happening. That was a lot better, unfortunately. Oh, I always paced that wrong. Now's the time for this. Excuse me, Knight's Cavalry, as I pull out the crit dagger. Hope you don't mind. They don't have much of a moveset while they're on the ground. Really am a pure caster now, aren't I? I've become the thing. The very thing I swore to destroy. Phantom Slash, interestingly enough, has the Knight Rider glaive in the picture, as well as a Knight Rider cavalryman. So, I don't think there's any lore attached to it, but I'll look because when the icon's a little different, you never know. You never really know. Alright, Ash of War grants an armament the quality affinity and the following skill. Phantom Slash, skill imparted by the fond remembrances of the Knight's Cavalry, creates an apparition of the Knight's former instructor who guides a joint lunging upward swing. Additional input for a follow-up attack. Alright, so kind of neat. Let's continue heading eastward. Can't believe I bumbled into a boss while talking. Oh, that's so me. We have a handful more of these guys. Kind of overkill probably, but... Ooh, flasks. And more red grace. And there's even weapons out here. Spears. Nondescript longswords. I'm waiting to... Normally when we see these, we often see, like, partisans and, banished knight weapons, so I'm keeping my eyes open. Though covered in snow, that's definitely the mottled shield we see in Stormvale. So what were the penal colony exiled knights doing out here in a place like this? Oh, poor guy. He just bumped into my backside, it looked like. That was silly. Very silly. Oh, a vulgar militia shodel. That'll wreck my inventory composition. What do we have? Another red boy? Maybe they're just expecting everything here to do lots and lots of damage to you, which is fair. It's a long trek with no graces. Come on. So it's nice to get refills, though. I don't think we particularly need them. It'll be nice to be topped off, though. Is there anything over here? I know there is a thing I want to show off. There it is. So just like Caelid, there are giant skulls here. And those are the teeth. There's the nose, and the eyes are up yonder. Well, I guess they're not that high up. And there's an item in its mouth. Weird. We're going to take a look anyways. Let me in. Let me in this mouth. Gross. Level 7 Somber Stone. And don't you know there's a sapling all the way out here? Interesting that the Forbidden Lands are so darn foggy and just covered in erratic red grace. Kind of spooky. There's also not music playing. It's just ambience. Wanted a poke weapon. He hurt me a little bit. How rude. I worked very hard for that HP. Alright, what's at the top of this hill now? More ruined weapons. Nondescript. They're probably going for nondescript on purpose. Generic weapons. Stake of America. Not capped yet. We can summon friends here. We can summon Millicent here, complete with her prosthetic arm. So what danger is here to present itself to us? What to bring? What to bring? Kind of feel like bringing this bad boy, honestly. Shucks. Whew. I'm glad his black flame didn't chunk my HP like it could have. This spell is silly. I like it. If nothing else, it's got to be good at pulling aggro. Oh, there was an explosion. What am I supposed to do about the explosion? Oh, and it's kind of easy when I brought Tish into the mix. Probably shouldn't have, but yeah, I'll probably lay off Tish for now. Probably pick a lame summon so that I always bring it and not something kind of busted. But we got some more gargoyle weapons. Bronze twin blade wielded by valiant gargoyles, mended with blackened corpse wax, deals holy damage, such as the mark of those who serve Malekith the Black Blade. And same with the Black Axe. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use this or its regular variant. I've seen plenty of people use the standard version of the gargoyle twin blades, not the blackened one either, but I've definitely never seen somebody use the Black Axe of either, which is kind of a shame. Strength Faith weapon. You get it really late, so that makes sense, I guess. And I think it's probably one of the shorter great axes. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that's a short great axe. That. Oh, no wonder the poor sucker doesn't get used. It's kind of lightweight though, 8.5. I mean, the Omen Killers are 11 each. So I guess if you needed something a little lighter... Is it one of the smallest? Maybe its AR is a little lower because it's so lightweight compared to other great axes. Never thought of that. Huh. The things you think about when you're pondering. I need to change out the stuff in my physic. I keep forgetting. Though I guess I don't really need stats in my physic anymore. Not really, since we're over-leveled. So let's see what we can put in the sucker. Makes wonders physic. I do want magic damage, since I'm a wizard, right? More likely to break enemy stances sounds kinda nice, actually. we'll go with that one for now. I know there's a third variant of these cracked tears that gives you bonus damage when you make repeated hits. That's usually the one I go for, in addition to another one that we haven't got yet that heals you when you're at low health. It's kind of like Sacred Tears or whatever from, or Tears of Denial from Dark Souls 3. It works differently, but it functions in a similar way. Let's see what this finger reader has to say to us.
You, please, I can read them. Your fingers, please, your fingers.
Do you think she gets chilly here? I mean, we're at a giant great lift that has tons of sentinels of the Erd Tree. And it's just open to the outdoors. It's gotta get cold. Let's show her our hands.
Turn back. Ahead lies the land of the giant's flame. And the way forth is forbidden. Hear me. The burning of the Erd Tree is the first cardinal sin. Doing so will unbind destined death and slay the world itself. Who would dare put you up to such a task? Most certainly not the fingers.
And she forgets what she already told us. Okay, so interesting. She says that the burning of the Erd Tree is the first cardinal sin, and doing so will unlock destined death and slay the world itself. And she might be right, but I don't think it's as literal as she wishes us to believe. Maybe we are slaying the old order, or maybe we will end the world. Who knows? But we can lift this medallion to these statues here. And these statues are a little different, if I recall, from the ones we saw at the Lift of Dectus. The other ones were like a knight with his weapon, you know, and a priest. And these guys look like two old-timey kings with bowls and branches. I don't know if there's guys like that on the Lift of Dectus. I kind of want to go take a look. Maybe that's what we'll do with our final little bit of time for this episode. Go take a look at that other lift in a moment. Because now I'm curious, because I swear there was a knight of some kind or some sort of warrior with a halberd or an axe. I'm learning alongside you, dear viewer. I do research for these episodes, but there's only so much. And their eyes glow red. It's kind of ominous. Oh, there's guys with axes in the back. Let's go take a look at them. Maybe they're what I'm envisioning. Maybe the Lift of Dectus is just a flipped version. The Lift of World. Yeah, this is the kind of guy I was thinking of. Kind of interesting. Okay, let's chug onward. Oh, I love this view. This is a view that people don't take into account when they first start playing. They just kind of go along this little path here, right? But we can see this whole area down here. And we don't know how to access it. We know there's a freaky bridge all the way over there. Land bridge. There's a golem at the end of it. There's some big old bridges. There is the remains of a wrecked minor Erd Tree. There's also this field over here, this snow field. And at one end, I don't even think we can see it. Oh, yep, there it is. There's a little town there. And don't you know, it looks like it has Celia-style architecture. And there's a wandering mausoleum. Much easier to see than the town. You have to really pull out the telescope. But we don't know how to get there just yet. Maybe a path will lower itself in that direction. But still, finding out that there is a third instance of Celia architecture is kind of neat. They were really an empire this far north if they're over there or what have you. And the animals are spirits. And there's another one of these. Monolith with a bunch of text and Mountaintops of the Giants map. Let's read that because sometimes they have lore. Map of western mountaintops of the Giants. Marching ground during the war against the Giants. They carved winding paths into the cliff walls right up to the summit, leading to the untrodden, snow-laden region beyond. So very unique. And it gives us this swath. It doesn't give us west or east. It gives us this middle part. And we can kind of see a little bit of a path moving forward. And there's our assassination for Juno Hoslow. There's a telescope. The minor Erd tree remains we saw. And a castle or some sort of building. And if we look down the way, there is a hero of Zamor walking amongst the animals. But we do have a site of grace we can grab. And it's Yura. He's clutching his face. We thought Yura was dead. He sliced off the finger of Violet Bloody Finger Eleonora, who we then flexed on. We dunked on her. We made her feel bad. What's going on, Yura? It's been a while. We saw you die. We were mortified by it.
Finally, we meet the Tarnished, who would be Lord. Oh my. Why the long face? I fear that you were previously acquainted with this vessel. Well, that is most unfortunate. For he is dead. As for his flesh, he gave it to me. Shabriri, I hope you can make your peace with that. You were about to sacrifice something precious, the life of a fair maiden, that you would toss into the fiery forge, only so that you may be Lord. What a horrible thing to ponder. Your ascendancy requires her sacrifice, whether she wishes it or not. But how would the Lord, crowned so, be looked upon?
So he has the opposite look of Melina, and he's telling us that Melina is going to be sacrificed for what we're about to do.
Chosen Tarnished and would-be Lord, dare to tread the path of true rigor, spare the poor girl, and singe your own flesh in her stead. If you are prepared to show resolve and attain lordship through righteous hardship, then heed the words of Shabriri.
He calls himself Shabriri, the most reviled man in history, told a lie so dangerous they gouged out his eyes for it. And so this leads to several lines of thought I'd like to discuss for a moment. So, first off, he is the counterpoint to Melina. Melina says that the world is still experiencing births. There is beauty in the hardship. Don't melt it all down just because there's tragedy. And Shabriri's on the other side. Spare Melina, who seems to want to sacrifice herself. Go take upon yourself the flame of frenzy. But here's a weird thing that's happening. Yura died, and Irina died. And both showed up again later with a different name and a different personality. Shabriri here, taking Yura's body, seems to know exactly who he is and what he's about. And given the reviled history of Shabriri, it seems that he's a powerful being in his own right. I'm going to refer to him as a demon. I don't know if it's the right word for it, but I'm going to call Shabriri a demon who has possessed the body of Yura. And a powerful one at that he remembers himself and knows what he's all about. And he's guided toward the flames of frenzy. Meanwhile, Irina died and was possessed, I'm going to say, by a minor demon. This is all like speculation, headcanon, putting things together. I don't have a whole lot of evidence for this, so have some salt on hand. Take this with a grain of salt. And so it seems to me that Hyetta was possessed by a minor demon, the term I've decided to use. And a minor demon, upon taking on Irina's body, Hyetta, had difficulty piloting the body at first. It was a blind body, for instance, and it required the Shabriri grapes and eventually the fingerprint grape to move forward until we got to the frenzied flame prescription, right? And so I think as we fed her the grapes, she came to get closer and closer to her purpose, but because she was a minor demon and not a major one, she didn't remember a whole lot about Irina or her previous vessel. She was just kind of acting on gut instinct to get to the frenzied flame and guide us to it, to read us the words that would come from the three fingers in the alternate timeline from last episode, if you recall. What was another thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, right. So he wants us to spare the girl, right? He wants us to spare Melina. Changing gears back to Yura here, or Shabiri. Shabriri, which is the name of a ancient Judaic river demon that causes blindness. Specifically a disease called river blindness that's actually a a real disease that's a parasite that gets up all in your eyes and makes them cloudy and bad. So kind of interesting that there's parallels between Shabiri of Elden Ring and Shabiri the Judaic river demon that causes river blindness, a real ailment. Anyways, and so he wants us to spare Melina, and when we fight Festering Fingerprint Vike, he's covered in those burned thumbprints all over himself and even on his eyeball when we get to him, right? And when we get to the Three Fingers, alternate timeline version of Seekhelm gets to the Three Fingers, I should say, he's forced to divest himself of all of his armor to be grasped. And so it makes me wonder if, because Vike was wearing his armor when he was enclasped by the Three Fingers, if the whole blessing didn't take, and that was a lesson the Three Fingers had to learn. Because it seems that when we find Vike, he's defending a church that has a dead Finger Maiden. So what if, bear with me here, what if Vike followed the flame of frenzy down into the depths of Leyndell to save his Finger Maiden, and then when he wasn't able to save her and she died anyway, because we find her body in that Church of Inhibition or whatever it's called, he decided he did not want to be the Lord of Flame. He was too attached to her. He did all this anyways to save her. What was even the point if she died, right? And so as a consequence, he was going to be the Lord of Frenzied Flame, but he wasn't able to. And so we have that stranded spirit that's nearby the Church of Inhibition that's asking, why, Lord Vike, why was he so close to being a Flame of Frenzy and was not? He got so close. Got so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter. Okay, that was a long rant. I didn't mean to take the episode that long, but I thought it was interesting stuff. Maybe some stuff for you to consider. Well, thank you for joining me today on episode 107. Yeah, 107. I think I recorded 106 last time. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a good one. Next time, we're going to go into those ruins and figure out why there's some more warriors out in the open. Those used to be boss fights. Spooky. Anyways, thank you, and bye-bye.